Hello everyone, Denise here. Today I'm going to show you how to make the lovely shawl. This is made with one of the Premier Anti-Pilling Bobbins. I did use all of the lightest color, not all of the middle or the darkest color, but I did want them to be evened out so that the same amount was used of each of those. So this shawl measures at the widest part 46 inches, and from right here to the tip is 22 inches. It is a triangular shawl, and this is what it looks like over the shoulders. So you can make this any size you want. It does not have to just be made with one of the bobbins. You can use two and make it larger. And you can use any yarn if you'd like, and just use the hook to match your yarn. So I'm going to go ahead and start the tutorial. I will be using a different yarn, and I will show it to you in the next part of the video. Okay, so I'm at my desk. The materials you will need is pretty much any yarn and any hook that matches that yarn. I use the Premier Anti-Pilling Bobbin in my design shawl, and for the tutorial I will be using a Premier Serenity, and that is a chunky yarn. This is the color Cloud Dancer, and these are pretty large. You can purchase these at Walmart. They are 328 yards each, 300 meters, 10.5 ounces, 300 grams. 100% acrylic. It is a bulky weight 5. It calls for an 8mm crochet hook, and I do have that here. You will need two separate ways to mark your work, one for the center of your shawl and then one for the side that you are going to increase on. So I don't know how many of these I'm going to use. I will let you know once the shawl is the size that I want, but I do have 3 of these, so I may use all 3. And like I said in the intro, I used the Premier bobbin, and I used all of the lightest color and part of the second and third color so that the shawl could be uniform as far as the color change. So it's up to you how much yarn that you use or what size you want to make your shawl, because this is very easily adjustable. This is an incredibly easy pattern. You pretty much just need to know single crochet and chaining. So any beginner can start this and make a gorgeous shawl. So I'm going to move this down here and get in the center of it so we can get started. Okay, so starting with a magic circle, this is how I do mine. Lay it across my hand, and then I crisscross the yarn over it to make an X. Then I put the hook in, pull up a loop, reposition it so that the working yarn is over here in my hand. And then as I work with these two together so that when I pull this string, it will cinch tight. Okay, chain 1 to secure it. And then we're going to do a single crochet V-stitch in this circle. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Pull this tighter. That's row 1. Chain 1, turn your work. In this first single crochet, we're going to do an increase. So every other row, we're going to increase the shawl. Every other row, we're just going to work in the stitches we already have done. We're not going to increase. So this is the side of the shawl we are increasing on. So we need to put a V-stitch in this first single crochet. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Now in this middle stitch here, which is the middle of your shawl, we need to do an increase. And the increase in the middle of the shawl on the sides that we increase on will be the same every single time that we increase. So every other row, we need to put 3 in this stitch, in this chain 2 space. So we do single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, that's 1, chain 2, single crochet in that same chain 2 space, that's 2 V-stitches. Now chain 2 again and single crochet back in that space, and that is a lot of stitches in one space, but that is 3, and we need 3 to increase. Make note of your middle stitch and put a stitch marker in there, and that will show you every time you get to this that that's the middle of your shawl, so you know. And every other row you will increase, and every other row you will not. So now we are to the other side of the shawl, and we need to do the increase over here in the single crochet. So put your hook in, do a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in that same stitch. Okay, so that is row 2 of your shawl, and that's an increase row. Every time we get to this side of the shawl, you need to do an increase. So you need another stitch marker or something to signify to you when you get to this side of the shawl that you need to increase. Now, if you don't have stitch markers, you can use a piece of yarn, you can use a bobby pin, you can use a button, you can use a hair clip, you can use whatever you want just to signify to you that you need to increase. Okay, so moving on to row 3. Row 3 is not an increase row, so we're going to chain 1, turn our work. In this first stitch, we're going to do a single crochet stitch. In every chain 2 space we find, we need to do a V-stitch. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Here's another one, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Now we're to the middle stitch. We don't increase on the row that we don't have our stitch marker, so we know we're not increasing. So we need to remove the stitch marker and just put a V-stitch in that stitch. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. We want to replace that stitch marker back in the stitch so that we know that's the center. Now anything we do on this side of the shawl, we need to do on this side of the shawl so that it is not lopsided and it matches. So every chain 2 space you find, you will put a V-stitch in it. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. One more here. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Now on the end of the row, on the side of the shawl, we're not increasing. We do whatever we did at the beginning here, and when we don't increase, we just put a single crochet in that first stitch. So we're going to put a single crochet in the last stitch. And now we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now we're noting here we have a stitch marker. We know we have to increase on this row. So when we increase on the increase row, we increase at the beginning, and the end, and in the center. So to increase at the beginning, in this first single crochet you just made on the last row, we're going to put a V-stitch, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and every chain 2 space that you find before the center, you're going to put a V-stitch in it. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Got another one here, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. We're to the center, so we're going to increase, and when we increase, we on the center we do 3 of those V-stitches. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, that's 1, chain 2, single crochet in that same chain 2 space, that's 2 V-stitches, chain 2, single crochet in that same chain 2 space, that's 3 V-stitches. That's our increase in the center of the shawl. In that middle V-stitch, we need to put our stitch marker back in there so we know where the middle is. Now remember, we're duplicating whatever we did on this side of the shawl. So over here we need to find all of our chain 2 spaces and put a V-stitch in those. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Here's another. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And then at the end we know we have to increase because we always increase at the beginning and the end, so we match. So we have a single crochet here, so we're gonna do the V-stitch in it. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. See how we're matching now? And on the next row, I'll show you a little trick so that you know that you're not getting off track on your sides. Okay, so we're gonna chain 1, turn our work. We're noticing we do not have a stitch marker on this side, so we're not increasing. So we are just going to put a single crochet in this first single crochet here. Any chain 2 space we find, we need to put a V-stitch in. So we do have one right here because we didn't increase last row. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, another one here, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, another one here, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. We have one right here because we increased in the middle last row, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And now we're to our center. And on the row that we do not increase, we just put a V-stitch there. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Replace your stitch marker. Don't want to forget where the middle of our shawl is so that we keep increasing in the right spot. Chain 2 space here, so single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And then V-stitch in each of the chain two spaces that you find on the side, just like you did at the beginning side of this shawl, of this row. Another one. And then in the very last stitch of the non-increasing row, single crochet in that last stitch. Okay, so now I will show you a little trick so that you know that you're on track with each side and the increasing. Take my hook out here. So when you need to know, and you can do this every row if you like, when you need to know if you are on track, if you feel like you're off track at any point, you can check. All you need to do is take your shawl and fold it in half. And this gets harder as it gets bigger, but it works every single time. So you line up your chain 2 spaces or bumps. So we have one here, 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 and here, and then the center. If you match on each side like this, you're on track, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with your shawl, you don't need to fix anything. If you were off by one, let's say I had an extra one here, that probably means that you have increased where you shouldn't have, so you need to check. It also could mean that you didn't increase on one side when you should have. So just make sure that every once in a while, every 2-3 rows, that you're checking to make sure you're on track with your stitches being correct on both sides. Okay, so let's move on. So we always chain 1, turn our work. We see the stitch marker here, so we know we're increasing. So we need to put a V-stitch in this first single crochet. And then a V-stitch in each chain 2 space. and you'll see them. They bump out slightly. In this yarn, it bumps out a little more than the Premier Anti-Pilling Bobbin, but it will bump out slightly no matter what yarn you're using. So on an increase row in the center of the shawl, we put 3 there, remember? So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in that same space, chain 2 again, single crochet in that same space, chain 2, single crochet in that same chain 2 space. Gives us 3 little bumps here. Middle bump needs a stitch marker put back into it so that we know that's the center. I'm going to find all of our chain 2 bumps over here, put V stitches in those. Until we get to the end, and in the end stitch and the end single crochet of our increase side, we put a V stitch, which will increase the side of the shawl. And that, I mean, that is as easy as it can get. So I've made this shawl in several different yarns, and it's gorgeous in every yarn that I do it in. But it does seem to show the beautiful line better in yarns that are not variegated. But it does show in variegated yarns, it's just less prominent. So let me pull my shawl over here to show you. So you can see here, it's pretty prominent on the solid, and then when you get to the variegated, it's a little harder. This is not variegated, but it is marled. It's the 2 strands of the dark and the light together with this. So, and then once you get to the darker color, you can see it a little more prominently that way too. So just keep that in mind if you're going to use a variegated yarn or something with color change. The beautiful striping here, or raised texturedness, texture of the stitches show less than a single colored yarn. So that is the entirety of the pattern. One side you increase, one row you increase, one row you do not increase. So on your increase row, just remember you're putting a V-stitch in the beginning, single crochet, and 3 in the center. And then when you do the non-increase row, you're just doing single crochet at the beginning and the end, and a regular V-stitch in the center. So I'm going to work this up, and I will be back to you once I get my shawl finished, and I'll let you know its measurements. So this is my finished shawl. It measures 48 across the top of the triangular part, and then the center of the shawl measures 24 inches. So it is a bit bigger than the Premier Anti-Pilling Bobbin one by a couple of inches, length and depth. So I really like this in both of these colors, and like I said, I have done it in other colors as well. Those were test runs though, and I did not completely finish the shawls. So, but it does look beautiful in any yarn, quite frankly. It is just a gorgeous pattern. So you can also add tassels. I will add a link to my tassel video below, and you can make them and add them to each of the tips if you'd like. And I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to leave mine plain because I don't want the extra bulk if I'm wearing it underneath of my jacket. So I'm gonna let you go. You go make your lovely shawl, and I appreciate you watching. I thank you all for watching, liking, sharing, commenting, and if you have any questions, please let me know. So until next time, guys, bye.